crazy character journey for her and for all the other characters, and I absolutely want to.
In Hollywood, the worst betrayals don't happen during press tours or casting wars. They happen quietly, at 35,000 feet, in first-class cabins where no one is recording, but someone is always listening. This wasn't a scandal. There were no headlines, no blurry iPhone clips, no Twitter threads. Yet, somehow, the entire industry still found out. It began in April 2025, somewhere over the Atlantic, just hours after the Paris premiere of Glass Chapel, Netflix's risky black-and-white romance thriller starring Ryan Reynolds and Sydney Sweeney. The film was all whispers and silence, no soundtrack, no spectacle, pure Oscar bait. Ryan played a grieving widower, Sydney the enigmatic woman who resurfaced everything he tried to bury. The premiere was flawless, standing ovations, champagne, perfect optics. But 2 hours into the return flight, as the cabin lights dimmed and the applause faded into altitude hum, Sydney heard something. Not because she was eavesdropping, but because in Hollywood, the truth has a way of finding you when you least expect it. Because on private studio flights, the air is thinner, and you hear things you wish you hadn't. Ryan didn't raise his voice, he didn't have to. He was speaking to his producer, low and controlled, but the words cracked something open. "She's not a wife, she's a walking contract." The producer laughed. "I mean, you married the brand." Ryan leaned back. "You don't know what it's like. The image, the control, the fake perfection. You spend your life making people fall in love with a version of you that she approved. And then she's Blake Lively. Of course she wins. That's the rule." Sydney didn't move, didn't breathe, because that wasn't a joke, that wasn't Hollywood banter, that was a man unraveling, and that made it dangerous. The seat beside her was empty. No one saw her face, no one knew what she'd just heard, but someone found out. The moment she landed in New York, her team felt it, the energy shift, the sudden silence. Calls stopped, meetings paused. An Apple TV Plus series her agent had just closed vanished without explanation, without reschedule, just gone. At first, Sydney assumed it was timing, until the call came, not from her agent, but from a director she trusted, someone she'd worked with years earlier. "I want you to hear this from me," he said. He'd been in a casting meeting for a new limited series. Her name came up, the room went quiet. Then someone said, "There's a situation, a conflict flag, personal, unofficial, discretion risk." And in that moment, Sydney understood. It wasn't about the project, it wasn't about her work, it was about what she heard and the price of hearing it. It wasn't the schedule, it was the flight. Someone knew what she heard and someone wanted her gone. No confrontation, no lawsuit, no statement, just a shadow over her name. Sydney didn't speak to her publicist, the studio, or even her team. She didn't need to. In Hollywood, when something changes, it's never loud or formal. It's just different. Invitations thinned, a Dior campaign postponed, a stylist she'd worked with 3 times stopped replying, a late-night appearance, already taped, never aired. Official reason, technical difficulties. But a now-deleted TikTok from a crew told another story, overheard producers saying, "We don't need Blake's enemies on this couch." Still, Sydney stayed silent. No tweet, no leak, just one quiet like on a single post, and it lit the fuse. In this town, silence is more dangerous than drama. The ones who stay quiet, they're the ones the industry fears. And soon after, a brunch meeting. It popped up quietly, not formal, just a casual catch-up. A casting assistant she used to DM back when she was self-taping in her bedroom met her at a small Studio City cafe, eyes darting before speaking. "You pissed someone off, someone big." Sydney blinked. "What?" "They think you leaked something from a flight." That's when it clicked. She didn't need receipts, didn't need to trace the source. If Blake Lively wanted her gone, it wouldn't come with lawyers or public statements. It came with whispers. And the whispers worked. Sydney's name began fading, not blacklisted, just paused. PR firms stopped returning calls. Stylists ghosted her. Friends left her on red. Then the email arrived, a single PDF from an anonymous sender, a private casting memo reading, "Sydney Sweeney has been deemed a high-risk booking due to off-camera instability and unresolved discretion issues." She stared at the screen, sober, unsurprised. They were admitting it, no need to hide it. Still, she stayed silent, no posts, no denials, but her agency was spiraling. The Glass Chapel premiere, meant to be her night on April 19th, promised full rollout, front and center with Ryan, marquee name, all press zones. But when the studio car arrived, the driver handed her an envelope. Inside, a private guest wristband, no premiere pass, no carpet, no photos. Calls to her manager and the studio yielded excuses. Logistics, Ryan's schedule shifted. But it wasn't logistics, it was a razor. So she made a choice. She didn't go. No public statement, no retaliation, just absence. In Hollywood, nothing is louder than not showing up. And then the photos dropped. Ryan Reynolds alone, stepping from a black jet SUV, grinning in custom Armani. Flashes lit his face, captions everywhere. Ryan Reynolds returns to form solo at Glass Chapel global premiere. Not a mention of Sydney, not in headlines, tags, or even footnotes. Even her glam. Her team was confused. One assistant posted and swiftly deleted a story that read, "Imagine spending 4 hours on a look no one will see. I'd cry." But Sydney didn't cry. She stayed home, uninvited from the very film she'd helped build. As the red carpet shimmered without her, another leak surfaced. A guest list. Her name wasn't misspelled. It was gone. Fans noticed. Not everyone bought the scheduling conflict excuse. Side-by-side PR kits went viral. One with Sydney front and center, the other completely scrubbed. Wait, wasn't she the female lead? Where the TF is she? It wasn't a mistake, it was a message. By morning, Sydney trended, not for her performance, her dress, or her absence, but because the audience sensed something off. Then Blake posted, a high-res, studio-lit shot of Ryan at the premiere, smiling wide. Blake stitched beside him, even though she hadn't been there. Caption, proud of this man, always telling stories that matter. No tags, no film name, no mention of Sydney. But for anyone paying attention, the subtext was deafening. Within 6 hours, 6 major outlets ran nearly identical headlines. Ryan and Blake stronger than ever. Blake skips carpet, still steals spotlight. Where was Sydney? The worst part, Sydney hadn't said a word, yet someone made it look like she had. She hadn't been pushed out, she'd stepped away. And in classic Hollywood deflection, silence became fragility, absence became instability. The real damage
wasn't in the photos, it was in the ripple. Sydney's name now trended for all the wrong reasons. Why didn't she show? Maybe she was being dramatic. Maybe she didn't fit. But everyone knew who really had the power. The vibe had shifted. The same fans who'd cheered her 6 months ago were now calling her too emotional for press. It escalated fast. A blind item hit Dumois. This breakout actress with big blue eyes and bigger ambitions just learned why you don't cross a PR queen. One overheard flight convo later, and she's out of the inner circle. Hope her skincare brands are still hiring. No name. Didn't need one. By April 22nd, Sydney's agency stopped picking up her calls. Messages went through, but replies came via assistants. Polite, careful, avoidant. We're just letting the dust settle. Still in great standing with Netflix. Then her calendar pinged. April 23rd, 2 p.m., private session. No subject, just continuity meeting. When she joined the Zoom, boxes lit up. Her agent, a legal rep, someone from Netflix, and a woman she didn't know. Corporate, polished, from a PR firm. They didn't waste time. This is just a brief to protect everyone involved. The studio appreciates your contribution, and we're moving forward with a different structure. Then came the offer. One-time payout, creative contribution credit, 18-month non-disparagement clause. All they needed was a signature. Sydney didn't speak. She sat for nearly a minute, then asked one question. Did Blake send this? The PR woman smiled, but didn't answer. This just ensures everyone walks away intact. Intact. Sydney didn't yell, plead, or crack. She said, "I'm not signing it," and closed her laptop. 2 hours later, her team received formal notice. Effective immediately, Sydney Sweeney would be removed from all Glass Chapel marketing materials and credits were stripped from her. But that wasn't the worst part. Hours later, her refusal leaked. A popular gossip account posted, "Heard a certain actress declined a peace clause this week. Not a great look when all you had to do was sign and smile. Guess the ego really is that big." The replies were brutal. One verified reply stood out. LOL. Posted by Blake's stylist, deleted 10 minutes later, but screenshots lived on. In Hollywood, refusing to sign an NDA doesn't make you brave, it makes you unemployed. And that's when the Quiet campaign stopped pretending to be quiet. Sydney didn't clap back, subtweet, or leak anything herself. She did nothing. And that was exactly why, to those paying attention, she became dangerous. It didn't go viral immediately, just a blurry photo from the Polo Lounge. Two women mid-conversation, one blonde, no makeup, sunglasses indoors, the other unmistakable, Reese Witherspoon. Caption, pretty sure Sydney Sweeney just had lunch with Reese Witherspoon. Holy. Reddit first, then Twitter. The memory resurfaced. Quiet years, tension with Blake, the press games, Reese walking away from the machine and never looking back. Now she was mentoring Blake's newest casualty. Why is Ree mentoring every woman Blake tries to erase? Insiders whispered. Within 24 hours, rumors swirled. Reese developing a quiet, introspective Apple TV Plus female-led limited series. Early talks with Sydney. Contracts and confirmations unconfirmed, but hope sparked. For Sydney, it was the first phone call in 10 days that didn't start with, "Hey, so sorry." Blake's camp? Silent. 2 days later, a single Instagram story. A sunset, a glass of wine, a cryptic reposted quote card. 3 words. Some people chase truth, others sell it. Vague, passive-aggressive, tired. The audience had already picked a side, and it wasn't hers. Sydney didn't respond. No story, no tweet, not even a like. She took the meeting because when Reese Witherspoon calls you in the middle of a reputational war, you go, you sit, you listen, and you let her guide the next chapter. Sydney never spoke. Not about the red carpet she was erased from, not about the leaked Zoom call, not about the blind item painting her as dramatic, blue-eyed, ego-driven. But she was listening. It started quietly. A fan posted a side-by-side, one final promo still from Glass Chapel, Ryan Reynolds alone, brooding in a long coat on a cobbled street. The other, the same frame from an early press folder. Sydney had been beside him. Same lighting, same composition, just gone now. Caption, look closer. It went viral. 50,000 retweets in under 12 hours. People noticed, then started digging. Press interviews pulled, Variety previews edited post-publication, early promotional images scrubbed. She wasn't misrepresented, she was erased, as if she never existed. Then came the fan edits. Cinegraphs, TikToks set to slow piano, mood boards with quotes like, "You know a woman is dangerous when she doesn't say anything back." A hashtag emerged. Hashtag silence a weapon. Not a trend, more like a tattoo. She didn't sign any campaign, didn't do a press tour, just defiance. And slowly, something shifted. Stylists, hair artists, even junior brand interns didn't call out Blake directly, but they started reposting Sydney's old looks, liking the quiet rebellion, amplifying her presence without her saying a word. Fan edits kept coming, tagging her again. Soft support, no statement, but in an industry where silence is a weapon, that quiet solidarity was blood in the water. Then came a quote from Zendaya during a totally unrelated press interview. Someone asked about female power in Hollywood. Easy softball, but the last question caught fire. What do you think about the way some actresses weaponize image control? Zendaya paused, then answered, "I think if you're scared of a woman's silence, it's because you know what she could say." It wasn't about Sydney directly, but everyone knew, including Blake's team. Within the hour, they sent soft pitches to several outlets. Blake Lively is entering a new chapter. No more drama, just art. No one bit. That night, Blake posted a white square quote in black serif font. "You cannot control what others believe, only your peace." 88,000 likes, 6,000 comments, most echoing the truth she didn't sign. By April 29th, Glass Chapel quietly slipped out of Netflix's top 10. No second wave promo, no awards push, no Ryan Reynolds silence. The narrative had shifted, and Sydney's quiet defiance had already done its work. There were no viral moments, unless you counted the thousands of fan edits now circulating about the woman not in the film. That's when the phone calls started, not to Sydney, to Ryan. One came from the head of PR at the film's distribution studio. Tone clipped. We're getting calls from global partners asking why she's not on the press circuit. Viewership's dipping in territories where she tested strong. There's a perception problem. It's getting sticky. Ryan didn't speak first. Then finally, "This wasn't my play." The exec shot back. "Then maybe you shouldn't have opened your mouth on that flight." He didn't answer, but the silence got leaked 2 days later. A low-level assistant accidentally sent a transcript to a journalist. Just a few lines, but enough. Reddit, then TikTok, then Twitter. Reaction posts captioned, "Ryan didn't know that his own agent was engineering Sydney's erasure."
Got shook by his silence. I'm living. For the first time in years, Ryan Reynolds' quiet unraveling had a public pulse. Ryan didn't look in control. Then came the image, blurry, candid, posted by someone on the set of his next project. Ryan on the phone, pacing. Caption, "I've never seen him this mad or this quiet." Hours later, The Hollywood Reporter dropped a story. 2 back-end investors had quietly pulled out of Ryan's upcoming thriller, officially unrelated to Glass Chapel, but the timing said otherwise. Ryan went dark. No new posts, no promo stories, no cheeky quips. When a fan account tagged him, "Where did you go?" there was no reply. But Blake liked the comment, and that said everything. Blake wasn't going to say Sydney's name. Not publicly. Not ever. The next move was obvious. A controlled redemption interview. Pre-approved questions, legacy journalist, soft lighting, the works. Headline drafted in advance. Blake Lively on motherhood, career, and learning to let go. Interview date, April 30th. Call time, 2:30 p.m. Location secured, outfit selected, hair trial done. And then, nothing. The car came, but Blake didn't. At 3:05, her team sent a single line. "She's not coming. There's been a change. No reschedule. We're choosing to move forward in silence." No apology. But this wasn't silence. It was collapse. Blake didn't know the journalists had already written the piece. Framing, backdrop, entire setup ready to run. When Blake backed out, they ran it anyway. Her name never appeared, but every paragraph was a mirror. And for the first time in her career, she had no way to respond. Meanwhile, Sydney was back on set. Not in LA, not a studio, but rural North Carolina. Wide landscapes, overcast light, no press announcement, no trailer, no teaser, just a whisper. Executive produced by Nicole Kidman. Premise, a woman rebuilding herself after an invisible war. Sydney didn't post, tweet, or share a single BTS shot. She just worked. That night, a tweet went viral, not from a fan or gossip blog, but another quiet, respected actress. The girl they blacklisted didn't even speak, she just listened, and they still panicked. The scariest thing about Sydney Sweeney wasn't her silence, it was what she saw and didn't say. No quotes, no lawsuits, no screaming matches on social media. Just a missing woman on a red carpet, a viral hashtag, a canceled interview, and an entire industry realizing the woman they'd tried to mute never needed a microphone. By refusing to sign, Sydney didn't just break a rule, she broke the cycle. She saw what Blake had done to others and didn't flinch. She just sat still. And sometimes, stillness is the thing that makes everyone else panic. Ryan's next project reshuffled, no announcement. Blake's brand campaigns went cold. No activations, no reposts. Her PR agency quietly ended their contract, citing creative differences. And Sydney? She showed up to work. Not in couture, not chased by paparazzi, but on a quiet indie film backed by Reese, produced by Nicole, shot in silence. The kind of silence that makes Hollywood shake.